Life 1.0 tells us that we need to get married. That's one of the boxes that we need to check in our lives. And I think as men being raised primarily by women, and inevitably, unless you were a helicopter child or you were a single child, you probably didn't get a lot of nurturing from your mother. I certainly didn't. I think that Generation Xers like me, we were not the purpose of our parents' lives. Oftentimes we felt like we were an impediment to their lives. So seeking out a woman's comfort is something that I think our generation really sought out, or that's something that we did. And I think even the boomers before us had a lot of the same experience. If I had known, 25, 30 years ago, 30 plus years ago, what I know now, I certainly wouldn't have been so eager to get married. And we all have our different reasons at different times. And at the time when I got married, I was a single father. So finding someone who could play that maternal role for my son was a high priority. But in retrospect, it was a mistake, I think that my life probably would have been just as happy or much happier, and certainly a lot more financially rewarding if I had remained single. Well, you never know. Life happens. But I guess my point is, don't feel like getting married is something that is critical to your life. There's so much more to life than marriage and raising children. There's lots of ways to find fulfillment. Don't get stuck in the paradigm.
Okay, so you mentioned that he was raised by his mother, that he didn't feel was that nurturing. He wished he wasn't as eager to get married, and maybe that was a mistake, and maybe you'd be happier if he was single, and maybe even happy if he didn't have the kids as well. You'd definitely be financially better off. That's probably something to do with the legal system. I don't know if he's in the States or Canada or whatever, but things are no good for men anywhere when it comes to divorce. And everything that you've worked for, somebody who just came about at some stage in your life and can just take half. Ridiculous. And it is the system that it is. And yeah, if you don't sign that contract, which a marriage is that actual contract, which ultimately makes your assets also hers, and she has no shame that she won't turn it down when you've got nothing else going on. If you're living together, fair enough. You can enjoy the fruits of both what you had to give to things. More often, though, it's usually the man. Men will usually be the older person, and they bring along a woman, and say she moves into whatever he's established more often than not. And it doesn't happen in reverse, because women of a higher status will not usually respect a man of a lower status to allow them to be in a relationship. I'm not talking about everybody. I'm just talking about the majority. So yes, men will generally lose out should a marriage fail. That's true. But that does not necessarily mean that we don't go into marriage, because otherwise no men would ever get married. Knowing that no men would ever get married, and we do. Because that's something that we choose and want to do, including him. So if he felt that society brought him to that point, that's also an interesting thing. Because as men, we think for ourselves. Nobody thinks for me. We are Western, right? Nobody tells me who I'm going to date. Nobody tells me who I'm going to have a naughty time with. Nobody sends me down the aisle, ever. And I don't think it actually happened for him either. So his perspective or his lens on his own life, very interesting. Or why he thinks he was forced down that route. We're not. Women have the pressure for the body clock and reasons for that, but men, we don't. So anyway, interesting.